All right, hey everybody. This is a video on the Whippersnapper suite. Um, we make a lot of models of the Whippersnapper, and I'm just going to run you through each model, the equipment I use to fish it, and it was designed around basically, and then also the hardware and the line, and just kind of like a comprehensive look into why I built them and what they do and what the differences are, because I know that there's various models, especially over the years. So we'll just get right into it. We'll break down the models first, and then we'll move into like the accessories. So this here is just your standard whippersnapper. This is so your standard whippersnapper is basically just like a wake, shallow crank down style bait. The new ones that we're making now will come stamped with the W right here. It's like embossed into the bait for wake model. But a lot of models from years back don't have that. But so this is just your run of the mill standard snapper. This is my favorite version to fish, probably because I've had it for so long and it's caught so many fish for me. So this you could wake on the surface, you could crank it down a couple feet, bang it into stuff. It comes over weeds real well. It comes through toolies and stuff like that because the width, the hooks are about the same as the body, so it's able to push through and it doesn't hang up very often. You notice the skirted peck fins on the whippersnapper. We have it on most models except for the slim snapper. And this is just to add a little bit of extra attention. If you ever seen a gill swim in the water, when they become stationary, they kind of use their front fins as stabilizers, and that's what these do. They fold back on the retrieve, and then as you pause it, they flare out and opened up and kind of undulate to mimic a fin instead of just being a stationary fin that's painted on or rigid. They kind of have movement to them. So, so, so yeah. So this you could fish on various things, but it's just made to wake and then crank down a couple feet stock. You could add heavier hooks and stuff like that. We'll go over that in a little bit, but the main purpose that I use this for is twitching on top, waking, highly buoyant surface style lure. You can get it down a couple feet. It works great that way. Also, but it's going to stay in those top 2 feet, maybe 3 feet if you add heavier hooks. Uh, Great wake bait, great twitch bait, all those things. Then now we have, so previous models you would that there was a cranking model, and what that was this, it was this body with more ballast and the same lip angle. You could kind of see that, but this lip was bigger, allowing it to get down. And a year and a half, 2 years ago, that was our cranking snapper. It was just a little heavier than this, and came with a larger lip. It did get down, but it wasn't designed specifically to dive deeper. So as we move into this, the deep diving snapper and the square bill snapper, we probably won't be making this model anymore. Maybe just for shows or something very limited. But we did make this. You fish this the same way as you would on the standard snapper, except this will go under. It's weighted heavy enough where they don't really wake. But there's a limited amount of these out there. So the next standard model that we have in stock, and we'll be making. So now the diving version of the whippersnapper, shallow diving, 3 to 5 feet. We call it the square bill snapper because it kind of has the same protruding lip like a square bill crankbait, and it also acts like a square bill crankbait. Bangs off a rock cover. You can see it shoots out in front of the bait to help deflect before the treble hooks get there. We'll tip it up and over. It's a buoyant bait, so it'll back away from cover. The main difference is you can see in these two baits is the lip angle. This is the standard, and this is the square bill. So this is going to shoot it down under the water a little faster. Now, to complement this square bill snapper that runs 3 to 5 feet, I like to grind it into rocks, wood, stuff like that. This is the deep diving snapper, and the difference from these two is the lip size. The deep diver has a has a slightly larger lip, and it's weighted heavy to almost suspend. Now this will get, I said 8 feet, but some guys that have been throwing it with the live scope told me that it gets to 10 without issue, and that's with the stock hardware. You could always add heavier hooks with this model, the deep diver. That could make it into a very slow suspender or very slow sink, because it's weighted to really get down here with the stock hooks. So the stock hardware on these models is a size 1 SU strike treble. We'll go over that in a bit. But the size 1 hooks, they're strong hooks, they're dependable hooks. Sometimes people just like to upgrade. So between the standard and the diver is the lip angle, and then with these two, it's ballast and lip size. The deep diver is going to get you down to about 10 feet, and float real slow back up away from the cover. Coming near summer, we'll probably make this in a higher buoyancy, and we'll make sure we label it, but we haven't brought that out yet. So now to finish it out, what you're looking at is the Slim Snapper. This is brand new. We just started dropping it. We slimmed down the Whippersnapper. It's like 3/4, 5/8 of the width. These are 2.8 ounces, and the Slim Snapper is about 2.4 ounces with hardware. So it shed a significant amount of weight just in the body. Same size hooks. We're using a circuit board lip on this, and this is a diving bait on the super slow retrieves, or if you add size 2 hooks to this, it'll allow it to float up a little better, and it can be utilized as a wake. But I tested this and utilized this bait specifically over the past couple years as a crankdown bait. And with this profile, thinner profile, tall sides compared to the width, it really kind of pushes water and thumps differently than the normal Whippersnappers do. Also because of the thin circuit board lip. This bait was actually, I was making a glide bait, and there'll be some limited glides of this, but I was making a little glide bait. And then I just moved into a larger glide, the Juke glide, because this didn't get the size bites I was personally looking for. So I made a quick one-off of a crankdown to see how this would work, and it worked out phenomenally. I just kind of kept it in the back burner and threw it every once in a while. Every time I threw it, it caught fish. So we decided to bring it out, and I think it's going to be a very popular lure this year. Cool bait. Like I said, it's under 2.5 ounces. You could whip this thing around on just about any rod you have. Real small profile, but definitely a eater size. So the last thing I want to talk about, this is the original Whippersnapper with the bent lip. They're still circulating out there. Straight cut joint, because this is basically a slob stopper, our topwater bait, chopped into a wake bait. Some of the originals had the small hardware. This one looks like it has the larger hardware. If you get one of these, this bait is basically just a very random, none of the lips were exactly the same bend, and it was designed to wake real slow, crank down, and be really erratic and hunt left and right and shoot out. So this was, I made a few batches of these, the first version of the Whippersnappers. I don't remember how many, but some guys liked them. I mean, they're cool baits. You fish them about the same as you do these. They're just a little more one-off. They all kind of have their individual personality. But when I decided to bring it out in the real numbers, and we came to this standard Whippersnapper, I really made sure. That's why I changed the joint to this style joint. This joint makes a lot of noise. It's like a grinding noise in some videos underwater. It's not a normal just clack, clack, clack. So this bait really, we really tried to optimize what we were doing with it to make it perform at its best for what it does, and it really has proven itself everywhere. I mean, giant fish for its size, up to 10 pounds, and plenty of fun-sized fish or tournament fish. It's one tournament's done about everything it can do. So we're really happy with what the Whippersnapper has done. So now that I've ran through each model that you'll see up there, the standard whippersnapper, the square bill, the deep diver, um, the slim snapper, and then the old model we used to make, the the old diver, which was just a larger lip, the original and the OG. And there is some heavy floats out there, small numbers, and that's just the regular whippersnapper. And it won't wake; it'll just crank right down and almost suspend. But that's not a standard model we make. You can see here, my box is littered with whippers. This one's broke in pretty good. It's probably my go-to. I have all different kinds, all different colors. It leans, it does well in a crawdad color for whatever reason. They really like the profile. So it's a very versatile bait. Now the stock tails on my side are going to be the small size. It comes with the small size, also comes on the waking crank. But personally, I like to throw the medium sized tail on it, which you use in the Wade Hogs and the Wade 3, the Chorizo, Big Chungus. All those use this medium size. And I don't know if I have any. Yeah, you can see this bait here actually has one, the medium installed already. Now, that'll limit the tail wiggle a little bit because it has more resistance, but I think it looks really good back there, especially when you're waking the lure. So you can pick up, if you want to use this medium size, you could get a 4-pack. I think it's $6 on my site of replacement tails, and we'll send those out, and you can just swap it right in. It shouldn't affect the performance. On the slim snapper, you could also put this Waking Crank 66 tail in there. You'll see it up there in the sizes under 66. It's a pretty small tail. But with that slim snapper, I think personally it looks pretty cool back there. It gives the tail a little faster action, a faster kick. And some people like the look of a smaller tail. So don't be worried about trying different tail sizes or different hook sizes with toxic baits. They're designed to be manipulated and take those manipulations rather well. You're not going to throw the performance of the lure off by changing that. Now, that goes for most of the baits. If you put a giant tail on some of the lures, it is going to affect the way they swim, but within reasonable amounts. Most lures aren't affected. The Waking Crank 66 only likes this tail because it's such a small and delicate lure. But when you're in the snapper series, the small or medium size will be fine. I personally throw the medium on there, but the small is great. It's an optimum tail also. Now they come with the Underground Supply Co. Strike trebles stock. This is a replacement pack that you could get. These are 1X hooks. We switched over to them from Owner. They have a matte, slick kind of like Teflon finish that some Japanese hooks have. And we found these to be great stock hooks, reliable, from size 2 up to the 1/0 that we have that we put on our Wade Hogs. They've been good performers. So when you get these in the package, they'll come with these stock. Now, personally, the ST56 for me, the 3X ST56, is my favorite hook. Just for the way I fish, the shape of it, the whole deal. This is my favorite hook to use personally. It is a heavy hook, and some guys like the thinner wires. So, hook choice is definitely a personal opinion. So don't be swayed by me not using the 1X hooks. It's just my preference. I use a lot of straight braid, stuff like that. So now with these, if you've used this hook, they are a little bit bigger than the normal size. So if the size 1, if it's a little big for you on this bait, you could definitely step down to a size 2 in the ST56, and it won't be too small to be affected by the width of the body. Now, when you have a big fat bait and really small treble hooks, you could run into some issues with hookups and stuff using those small trebles from the width of the body. So I recommend size 1 or size 2 ST56 if you like that style hook or a heavier hook. Now, also, I've been using these. These are my other favorite super heavy-duty hook, but they're so sharp. Hooks these days are so sharp. They're a 4X hook like the ST66, if you guys are familiar with the owner ST66. But the shape of the point and such on these BKK Vipers makes them a far superior hook, in my opinion. The penetration has been great. I don't lose anything that I hook on these things. It seems like, knock on wood. Don't want to jinx myself, but these have performed really well for me, and I'm pretty sure I have them on. Yeah, you can see here. I actually have been fishing them on this whippersnapper for. I think this hook has lasted me like over 20 fish, and since the heavy duty hook and whatever they do, these points don't roll over like a lot of hooks. So they're expensive hook, but if you're supplier, you want to try something like this, you don't mind the chrome looking hooks. These BKK Vipers, phenomenal hooks. But with the Underground Supply Co. Strike Hooks 1X, these here, I mean, that's what I fish 99% of the time. Maybe now that I'm using the BKK, 80% because those kind of switch in, and I really like that hook. But I understand that that's a very polarizing hook for a lot of people because it's silver and it's 4X. But if you have trust with owner, Yamagatsus work fine. Also, I'm just giving you what I think performs best. Owner ST56 3X or the SU strike hooks. Now, when it comes to line, I don't think you could go wrong. You just get it out there, it's a hard bait. You're going to be fishing these baits like a wake bait or cranking it down, careening it into cover, ripping it through the weeds, banging it off wood, pitching it into pockets, twitching it on top. It's kind of unlimited in the ways that you could fish them. Now, even though this slim snapper doesn't have the fins, it's still a great lure for the fish to stare up at the top. A lot of these baits get smoked from the fish just looking at it. But for the most part, the wake bait, you're going to be reeling in on the surface. And then once you start cranking down, you're going to want to bang into stuff. So it's going to be more of a reaction bait. So line is definitely like a personal preference. But the lines I've found over the years are very proven to me. They never fail for me. They've worked great. They're easily attainable and affordable, which is also very important to me. I don't like to overpay for stuff. So the first line, you can't go wrong. 20-pound P line, PF, original copoly. This line is very thin line compared to what most 20-pound is. People that have used a P line a lot of times are familiar with the CXX series, which is a good line, but it's a very thick line. You have to remember that just because one line is rated for a poundage doesn't mean it doesn't have other properties that will make it perform a certain way. So I prefer my lines to be very thin. I've been using this for almost a decade. Very high performing line, 20-pound, fishes like 20-pound. It's strong and it's thinner than most 20-pound line. It's a copoly, so it's kind of neutrally buoyant, which I like. And to be honest, I love that smoke blue color. It kind of just blends away. It's not obtrusive in any environment. 20 or the 25-pound. Because it's thinner line, you could definitely get away with the 25-pound for these. I think the 20-pound is perfect. The next size down is 15, which is a very strong 15-pound line. You could fish it like a 17. You can throw this slender snapper on a little bit lighter line, but it performs so well on 20. I don't ever see a reason to step down that way. If you're looking for to be stealthy, I have some options here in the fluorocarbon that I'll talk to you, so you can step below the 20-pound. But for me, this is the best choice all around. I think it's like $13 for how many yards we got here? 620 yards. Can't beat it, right? Now, if you like fluorocarbon, these are the two I go with. They have 20-pound, 18, 22-pound. This is a 22-pound hidden concept. This is what I throw it on if I'm going to throw it on fluorocarbon. There are times that I'll choose straight fluorocarbon. And when I do, This is my favorite fluorocarbon that I've used. I'm really not a big fan of straight fluoro. And after I started using this Samurai, I really like the performance, the way it lasted on reels. It seems to last a few months if you don't use it all with reties before it starts getting real wiry. I don't really like when it fluorocarbon stiff and wiry like that. This is kind of silky and strong and good. So if you want to throw something that's a little stealthier, especially in that slim snapper, the 18 performs very well. The 22 is my go-to all around stealthy swim bait line. I still want to be strong, have strong line, but if I need fluorocarbon, then this is the way I want to go. I want it to be supple, which I really like about this line. It's also it's a very high end line. You're going to pay high dollars for all these fluorocarbons. And when I got this, I really liked it because I always feel like I'm paying too much for this line because you use it so fast. But this comes with the line keeper and the spool keeper and a marker halfway through. I think this is the best value and best performing line. Like I think the all around package of the Samurai Fluoro is awesome. So this is a great choice for all your swim baiting stuff. But for the snapper, that's what I go with. And then the last thing I like to talk about, if you watch some of my videos, I have some cast to catch up, and you can hear the braid in the guides when I set the hook. So this is my little braid box. This is the P-Line TCB. Most of it's in a brown spool. I don't know where I got this blue stuff from, but this stuff's good too. I don't know if it's the same stuff. It's a different color. But the TCB is the Teflon coated braid from P-Line. I don't know if this blue is it's like a different carrier or what, but all the stuff that I've got has been great. But there's a yellow box and a blue box. I throw it on 65 pound. So Bobby Barrick, there was a video, or I don't know if it was a video or he was talking to us, but he was talking about using braid and braid size for punching, stuff like that. When you get down into 50 pound, it's so thin it'll cut itself in the knot. Now, I like to super glue my knots so they don't slip with braid, but sometimes it's not feasible. And when you get into 65, it's thick enough to withstand itself. So I stick with 65 pound braid. I don't go up to 80 for swim baits. It's just cable. It's just too much. I don't really see a necessity for that, especially for this small thing. So if I'm using braid, I'm using this, and I'm probably tying it to P-Line Chinchi. This is the leader material that I've been using. It's fluorocarbon leader, it's saltwater leader, shock leader. I don't even know. It's 20. This is 20 pound. You get 25 meters, 27 yards for like $12. So it's affordable fluorocarbon. It's clear and it's really, really strong. I've used it saltwater, freshwater, striper, tuna, everything. It's performed great. So this is what I'll use with the Albright knot or Alberto knot. I usually go with the Alberto knot with the braid to fluoro connection. No issues. I go with like a 3 to 4 foot leader. You don't need a super long leader if you want to keep it out of the eyes. You definitely want to keep it off the reel for most guys. So 3 to 4 feet is plenty of leader usually for a hard bait, and you're going to get the performance of the braid, but get some a little bit of shock absorption and stealthiness with the leader. Now, when we're talking about rods, my favorite rod is the Genesis 3 Sniper iRod, the rod that I designed with Matt Newman. It came out in the Gen 3. It's $150. I mean, it does so many things so well. And with the Whippersnapper lineup, I think it's that's at the bottom end of the range. It's rated 2 to 6. It's near the bottom, but I think that it performs very well on this rod, especially being that it's 7'6", and this is a bait you could put in pockets, fish around real well. So of course that would be my first choice. I pair it up with this Coastal Daiwa Coastal Tatula. This is my favorite reel that they make. This is the 200, but any of the 200 of the Tatula 200s will work. 6 or 7 gear ratio, and also the 150s. I have this 150 here on the crank launcher, and the 150s are almost, they're almost the 200. So if you're a guy that fishes 20-pound line or below, the 150 is a great option. I've had them take plenty of abuse. They don't really torque out or like what people think with the big baits. It's been a great performer. I always switch over to the replacement handle from Daiwa. It's like $50. Can't beat it. Here I have a DRT varial handle, the nicest handle I've ever used. If you want the best handle on the market, definitely give the DRT varial a look. I like the EVA foam knobs. So I'm holding this crank launcher here because the Slim Snapper performs very well on this crank launcher rod. Little lighter action. This is a lot smaller bait. It pulls a lot less with a thinner lip than, say, this square bill snapper or the standard snapper or the deep diving snapper. So if you already have a crank launcher in your lineup, the full size, this is the 711 3. So it's the 711 3-power crank launcher Gen 3. I fish the TK, the 66, the DRT Tiny Clash is what I meant. The 66 and this Slim Snapper on this rod. I really like it on this rod. Like I said, I have the 150 on there. This is the 5.5 to 1, like real slow ratio. I prefer that for cranking down a lot. But this is a great option for the smaller wakes. And a lot of guys will already have this in their lineup if you're new to this. So don't count out those Magnum crank rods for baits like this. Now, this is a cool rod. This is the new rod that's due to drop anytime now from Lowdown Customs, the standard issue. This is the 8'3" medium heavy. Now, back in the day, I've been buying Lowdown Customs since the first standard issues came out. Those were some of my first swim bait specific rods. And I've always been with Ben and had the product. It's a custom style, high end, niche style rod company, So when he sent me some of these new standard issues, I had to get out there and give them a try. Now, this is the medium heavy 8'3". There's a 7'9", and then there's going to be an 8'3" model also. Double footed guides all the way up, spiral wrapped, all custom accents. I have it paired with the 300 Lexa here. The Lexa 300 is such a versatile reel. It's hard to beat. Also varial handle. But you can see the long EVA foam handle out back to complement the 8'3" out front. It has a long, slow bend. If you guys have the workshop models, these longer models, there's going to be 8-foot models and longer models. The longer models are going to have a slower taper, softer tip till it hits that backbone. I used to order customs similar to this that were 8'3" medium heavy, and they're still out there in circulation, I imagine, because I sold them when I got new stuff to pay for new stuff. But I've already started to put fish in the boat with this, cranking down the micro mink, and I've been cranking down the square bill and the deep diver on this season. I just got it this season, and I got to tell you what, it's just a great overall rod for 1 to 4 ounce baits. With that longer tape, with that longer length and that softer taper towards the tip, you could really like work it down through baits. And since I crank down so often, working it through the rocks and working it through wood, you could really like creep it through, with this longer action. My 7.6, I'm always whipping it in and accurately casting, but early in the season, I've been making some longer casts with this dirty water and just working slow through cover. And this rod has done it great. It's also a 2-piece rod, which is cool. So the shipping will be reasonable. And you also get this beautiful rod sleeve, and it fits the handle and the rod in separate compartments for ease of to pack it up and to travel around with it. So when that comes out, I would definitely give that a look if you like higher end swim bait rods and technique specific stuff. You can get shorter or longer. Ben really killed it with this. I'm excited to see everybody get it. It's great to see, uh, you know, him set the bar and continually raise the bar for the industry, in my opinion. So that's our whole deal. That's the whole Whippersnapper suite. Now, if you're going to get these baits and fish them out there, there's no wrong way to eat a Reese's, okay? Like, it's just like if you got a spinner bait, you would throw that thing all over the place in the weeds if you thought they would eat it in the wind. If you don't know, throw the spinner bait in the wind. But so with the shallow diver, you're just going to want to wake that thing, and it's going to be a surface presentation, summertime, shade pockets, twitch it in place, do a lot of stuff, burn pause. I named the diving version a square bill snapper and a deep diver on purpose so that they sound like crankbaits, because that's what you're going to want to do with these baits. You just want to get them down there just like a square bill. I know that they don't cost the same as a square bill, but especially if you're in a boat, you can go get the lure and get it back. Your biggest bites a lot of times are going to come hitting or ripping your bait out of cover. And the same goes for this for the Slender Boy. All the baits you could throw out and reel in, and they shall be effective. But you're going to want to switch it up every day until you figure out what those fish are wanting. Do they want it fast, slow, up, down? And over the years, and with the popularity of the Whippersnapper, we ended up making all these models because not only did we need different, or did we want different models for different applications, customers kept asking for stuff like this. So if you want to get a toxic bait, a Whippersnapper can be one of the best ways to start out. And if you have a million toxic baits, it's still a great buy, because it just works all the time. It seems like year round, especially now with the deep divers. So I hope that was a decent explanation. I didn't ramble on too long. We ran over the line, hooks, different models of the Whippersnapper, different rods. Of course, there's other rods that will be applicable for these baits, but these are the rods that I've used and that I use, and this is what I would recommend. So the iRod Sniper is out of stock right now because of all the great support you guys gave us, but we have more coming in soon. The iRod crank launcher for the slim snapper, and then the new Lowdown Customs medium heavy 8'3", along with the white label medium heavy 7'9". I've definitely used that a lot for the Whippersnapper over the years, but this new 8'3" medium heavy standard issue that's going to hit the market is an incredible rod. It's a really cool option for you guys. So Matt Newman is one of the OGs of swim baiting, so you're always supporting a swim baiter with iRod, which is a bonus if to keep it in the community. So I hope that did its job of providing you with all the information that you would need to fish the toxic baits, Whippersnapper, whatever model it may be, even if you got the old OGs or the heavy floats that there's not very many out there. So have a good one.